like if your teeth fall out, you get false teeth, right?
Sure.
And he, or if your arm is cut off, you get an artificial arm put on. But he warned that we would adopt prosthetic devices that we don't even need, you know? So it's like, why, if I have a perfectly good set of teeth, why would I want to put false teeth on my teeth, you know? But I think that's what quite a bit of this new technology is proposing, especially this technology that's leading in the direction of, you know, the immortality fantasies, which you get into quite a bit on your site, I notice, and I'm interested in how you view that and how you're going to handle that subject, because I've also written quite a lot about that.
I do want to tip, give a tip later on in regards to a short film that we did that really goes in a little bit and ask a little bit of questions about this idea of longevity in connection to the archons. And one thing that we did in this short film was to, and I don't know if you read this article or not, but those who are involved right now in the Human Genome Project, one mainly Craig Venter is one of the guys.
Craig Venter, right.
Very prominent right now.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, involved in this project set out to first map the human genome, but now they set up a new contest that actually is about mapping the DNA of what they call it high-speed sequencing, of mapping the DNA of multiple persons, basically. And this is an X Prize, by the way. And the interesting thing here is that they named the contest the Archons, a genomics X Prize contest.
Did they?
Yeah. So I mean,
wow,
what the heck is going on there, right?
Any idea? You know, this immortality idea is a central theme of the Abrahamic religions. Did you know that?
Well, come again? Say that again.
The immortality idea. The idea that you could have an immortal physical body, deathless, is part of the Abrahamic religions.
Well, again, that's why a guy like Aubrey de Grey, we touched upon this in our short film too, he names his foundation that is into longevity research, the Methuselah Foundation, that is derived directly from the Bible, from the oldest person in the Bible, actually. Right,
but it's not quite the right name. That's not the figure, that's not the actual figure in the Bible who represents immortality.
Really? Okay.
Methuselah represents longevity.
Right.
But not immortality.
Sure, okay.
Immortality is represented by another being called Melchizedek.
Okay.
And Melchizedek is the whole foundation. Melchizedek is the being who founded the whole Abrahamic religion and Christianity and Judaism.
Okay. And
Melchizedek is described in the Bible as being without age, without parents, and without generation. Meaning that he was not born in a natural way, generation being biological reproduction, right? Now, this description of Melchizedek, which occurs in Romans in the New Testament, is absolutely startling because it's a description of a cloned human being who can live forever.
Really?
Yes.
God.
And that figure, that idea, and that figure are present at the core of these religions. And all of the people who adhere to these religions believe, you know, that in one form or another, well, after death they will be, if they do what the Father God wants and they're obedient, after death they will be resurrected and given an immortal body.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So that, and even the idea of, at the end of days, everyone will rise again from the grave, basically.
That's right. That's right. And so this concept that Ventnor and these other people are working toward are the transhumanists. You've heard of them, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
These people who are proposing that through artificial intelligence and genomics we can create an immortal human being are actually working out an ancient religious belief system.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
If we look at the terminology used and even the symbolism in some cases, the usage of the Grail, for instance, have been kind of, again, connected with the longevity theme.
That's right.
There's so many things there. So the question obviously becomes, at this point, the people that are involved in this, are they then influenced by the archons on a unconscious level, that they're being affected, or are they consciously driving this because of their own ego or interest, or that they themselves actually are involved in some very occult basically mythology?
Well, if I wanted to be very cautious about it, Henrik, I would say, well, they're probably just scientists with big egos who want to make a big score. Okay?
Sure.
But if we want to scratch the surface and look a little deeper, I have to tell you that I wouldn't be at all surprised if these characters are involved in some level of occultism, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the archon influence is not what's really driving them, if they have become archontically deviated. It's a deviation away from humanity toward a kind of mutation of the human species. Now, it's either going to be one thing or the other. Either we're going to reach that mutation, okay? Science will reach those goals, or we won't. And if we don't reach them, we may end up wiping ourselves out in the meantime. That's pretty much how it looks to me.
Well, that's pretty scary. I mean, one thing is, of course, what is the option here? I kind of look at all of this as a way to. I say that we need to take the good parts of every little piece, that we have, and make sure to move on. That's the most important thing, that we actually don't stop in our tracks in that sense, that we continue to evolve and again consciously evolve, not just flying off on some other weird path of some interests of one single person or whatnot. But I mean, many people see that the option at this point is we need to totally dismantle everything we got and go back to the ancient times, go back to a pagan religion and so forth, and
right.
That's the best thing. What do you see as an option at this point that we can do?
Well, first of all, I want to say that what you're expressing here is what I call the heroic attitude. Joseph Campbell, who was a great mythologist, and some people consider me to be his successor, wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and I also wrote a book called The Hero. And what you're expressing is the heroic attitude, the warrior attitude. That is, that we face a perhaps incomprehensible situation, and we face impossible odds, but we try to turn that into something good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you're asking me, well, what good option can we make out of this? Well, that's a fucking great question, I don't believe, by the way, I'm obviously a pagan and a mystic, but I don't believe that we would go back to ancient paganism. I believe that we might go to some kind of future paganism. But specifically on this subject of genomes and creating the immortal human being, it's hard to say, I guess I would say that the option for me would be this. Rather than thinking about how I could mutate into an immortal human being, I would like to know what is the absolute most I can get out of my mortal physical body. What is the most bliss I can experience? What is the most pleasure? What is the highest intensity of feeling and perception that I can have in this mortal body? I guess that would be my option. I guess I would say, well, I would like to see what's the most I can get out of that. And then maybe if I'm not satisfied with that, we could consider mutating into some other form. So I guess that would be my response. I'm really into the body.
Sure, absolutely. Well,
yeah.
What about the idea that, I've been pondering on that idea of where we're heading right now, and again I can see that there's very good purpose, so to speak, with all the connectivity that is going on. I say the internet is a kind of basically a representation of the neural pathways of Gaia, basically, that
right.
all these little cells running around human beings then are connected to each other, and that's wonderful and all of that. But then on the other side, you have the danger of that, the microchipped population with the computer interface, everyone hooking up to the same illusion, and then we're basically going to go just deeper into the matrix, and we actually are going to lose our individuality and our own consciousness in that process. So
well, you describe it beautifully. I mean, you describe I think that's really the great challenge that we face. That is the challenge of globalization.
Yeah.
And you describe both the positive side of it and the negative side of it, you know.
Mm.
And boy, I don't pretend to have the answer to that. I don't have the answer to a lot of things, you know. But I'll tell you what my sense is. My sense is that, you know, there used to be in the States, we used to have this bumper sticker. Because, you know, people in the United States express the most profound philosophies on the back of their cars. You know?
Right.
And the bumper sticker said, think globally, act locally.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
So my observation would be this, that no matter how much positive globalization we have, you know, no matter how much we become neurally connected across the planet, like you and I are being connected by internet radio.
Sure.
You have to live locally. You don't live on the earth, you live in a place on the earth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to live locally. And as long, you know, there's a name for this, it's called bioregionalism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bioregionalism is a term which means that the people who live in a place have a profound relationship to the place they live.
Right.
And so I think as long as we can maintain bioregionalism, and as long as people live locally, which means grow their own food locally, understand where their water comes from locally, understand the nature or immediately around where they live, then I think that's the grounding we need to not be driven out of our minds by globalization.
Yeah, I believe you're right on there. I'm kind of looking at that too as a kind of, you know, some of the solution. The question though is that arises obviously is our local or are our local kind of surroundings changing because of you know, climate change? Things are obviously going on. I mean, there's no doubt of that. And could we end up in a situation where we actually cannot longer, you know, sustain things as they are on the planet? Do you think that's a possible danger here?
I think that it's probable that it's going in that direction. Certainly, the local impact of certain global changes is obvious to me. I could give you many examples. The way animals are behaving, the way the seasons come 6 weeks earlier than normal,
or no season at all.
Or no season at all.
Yeah.
You know, I think we are going to face that, and I think that's going to be one of the challenges to our adaptation. You see, but here again, we get back to the archontic question. You know, it's like saying, well, if we're going to be facing now global warming and meltdown of the Greenland ice shelf and all kinds, if we're going to be facing changes in the biosphere, how are we as a species going to face these changes in the biosphere if we're totally absorbed in artificial reality?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we have become so archontic that all we can do is relate to our machines and our iPods and our computers and all these devices and gimmicks that we have, how the hell are we ever going to face the crisis in our natural environment, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we're really coming to, we're in that crisis. We're not coming to it. We are in it. We're in it. Yeah. And it's the generation of the people who are in their 20s and 30s now who really have to be smart and have a lot of courage to face this.
Yeah, and then we have the idea of conflicting information constantly. There are different reports coming out that the ice sheet, for example, aren't actually melting. There are actually rebuilds up in other places. We have
That's right.
We even have philosophers that propose that added carbon dioxide to the atmosphere actually might be a very good thing because plants and so forth, you know, harvest they live on that basically, you know. We could have consequently more rain because of that. We might actually moving into a whole new era of the planet, meaning the era where the planet becomes more, you know, gives more, so to speak, more growth and more, you know, the desert, you know, begin to disappear and so forth. But a consequence of that, meaning that if we try to stop this now with removing carbon monoxide, that's the consequence of that is that we're going to live, you know, in a worse environment. I don't know.
That's right.
Any ideas?
It's crazy making. We don't really know. But whichever of those scenarios is true, the fact remains that we're going to have to adapt to changes in the environment. And if we make